Good morning and welcome to the Crafty Canary for your tip on Tuesday. Today's tip is going to be how to make a cotton dish towel. This dish towel is made from cotton canvas. It measures 18 by 20 inches when it's finished. And really, it is very simple to make. You can use these just like you would any dish towel you buy from the store. It's a little different than terry cloth, but you would be very surprised how absorbent it actually is. You can use it to dry dishes, to dry your hands, to cover your sourdough starter, or line your bread basket. Anything you would normally use a dish towel to do, you can use these dish towels, and they wash really well. So let me show you how it's done. So we have another cute farm animal print that we're going to make these dish towels out of. And what I'm going to do is cut my fabric 30 inches by 20 inches. Now, in order to do that, I have to have at least that 30 inches, but you want to go a little bigger than that. What I did when I went to the store is I asked for 7/8 of a yard, just to cut the price down just a little bit, because I didn't need a whole 36 inches. That is 31.5 inches, but it's pretty close, but it keeps me from having a lot of waste. And usually when they cut it, you still end up with 32 or 33 inches, so it's pretty safe to go with 7/8 of a yard to get your 30 inches this way. So what I'm gonna do is take a carpenter's square. Now this is a tool that I learned to use when I was working for my mom. She had a drapery business, and I made pillows all the time for her. And so she got me using a carpenter's square. This is a large tool, so when you're cutting things out that are a little bit bigger, like your 20 by 30 inches, you have a little bit more room. It goes 16 inches this way and 24 inches this way. So I can't get my whole 30 inches out of it. I'll show you what I do to get that 30 inches, but it's a lot better than the small little tool that I used when I showed you how to make the reusable gift bags. I used a smaller square tool to cut off the corners of the bag, and I'll link to that video so you can see that video. But that square tool would be much too small to do this, so I need something a little bit larger. So if you don't have one of these, that's okay. You just want to try to get this as square as possible so that you don't have a crooked dish towel. You can use your print to kind of help you with that, but what I'm going to do is put my L here on the folded edge of the fabric, and I've made sure that my fold is pretty straight. I've looked at my pattern and made sure that it's folded. When I have a repeat in the pattern, like right here I have a little milk jug or water can, whatever this is, and it's kind of about halfway in the middle of the milk jug, and way up here I have another one. So the repeat on this is not very small, so you're really kind of okay because you don't have a lot of repeating pattern. But I can see that the milk jug is folded in the middle of the milk jug here, about the same place it is here, so I can know it's pretty straight according to the pattern. Now that may not be pretty straight according to the grain of the fabric, which is also important, but we're not going for perfection here, especially since if you're just doing this for your own good, to make your own towel, it doesn't have to be perfect, especially the first time. The more you do this, the better you'll get at it, and the straighter you'll be able to cut it. But what I'm going to do is straighten up this smaller edge along the fold, so making sure that right here it's right along the fold. And then I'm going to take my marking pencil and I'm going to mark my 20 inches at the top of the towel. So I'm going to mark a dot where the 20 inches is. I know you can't see that because this is kind of cutting off the top ends here, but I've made a dot where the 20 is, and now I'm going to hold my square straight so it doesn't move, and I'm going to draw a line all the way from that folded edge to my mark of 20. Now, I also want this edge and this edge to be as straight as possible, but like we said, I don't have 30 inches here. So what I've got to do is I'm going to line up my smaller edge with the line that I drew right at that dot where the 20 inches were. And then I've got another tool. You can use a yardstick. You can use something like this. This is just another large carpenter tool, and it is 60 inches. So what I'm going to do is line it up and get my edge straight with the edge of my square, making sure it's nice and lined up here. Everything is even. And I'm going to go to the 30 here and make a mark. But before I do that, what I want to do is make sure that this is going to be 20 inches still, and it's a little bit bigger than that. Sometimes it just doesn't always work out, even though you're putting it as straight as you can. So what I'm going to do with my rule, I know you can't really see this very well either, but I'm going to pull that down just a tad until my rule here says 20. And I've got at the 30-inch mark, I've got 20 inches coming down at the bottom of the towel. So here I go. I'm going to mark my 30 inches and then draw my line on my fabric. Whoops. And then now, let's get rid of this great big old long tool. And come down here, line up my smaller end of the square with the line, and make sure this is 30. We're just going to check everything and make sure it's as close as we can get it. And now we have it, and just draw our other line. And of course now, I'm just going to cut this out. So now what we have here is actually a large rectangle that is 30 by 40, because we had that fold, and I don't want my towel to be that big. But what I can do is have two towels out of this 7/8 of a yard of fabric. So what I'm going to do now is cut along where that fold was as straight as possible, and then I will have two pieces of fabric that are 20 by 30. Now, all we really are doing is cutting out this rectangle and hemming it. So what I'm going to do is what I like to call a double 1/2 inch hem, but you start with it at 1 inch. So you take your little measure or hem gauge. My mom always called these a little measure, so that's what I have the habit all my life of calling it, is a little measure. Isn't that silly? But it's really called a hem gauge. So I'm going to get to 1 inch, and I'm going to turn 1 inch under all the way around. And I'm not too much, particularly on this, of a perfectionist. I just try to get it pretty much at 1 inch, and we'll do that all the way around. Okay, before we turn under the raw edge of this, so that we don't have a raw edge showing and we have that nice double 1/2 inch hem, we're going to take care of our corners, because doing this and then having that bulky corner is going to it's going to add bulk. It's going to be difficult to turn the corner while we're sewing. So we want to do something to help us make this corner not so bulky and look nice when it's sewn up. So what I'm going to do is, if you can see, I'm going to try to make it where you can, the fold, and you wouldn't draw on it unless you're having trouble seeing it, the fold where I've turned it under that 1 inch meets at a corner. Can you see that? So what I'm going to do is take my scissors and go from the edge of one of those fold lines to the edge of the other, and just cut off that corner. All right, and we'll get rid of that little piece, and then we will turn that under right at the corner. So where those lines meet and I have that corner, that's where I'm going to turn it under. And I'm going to try to actually line up my lines here with my fold and my line here with my fold, so that my creases line up. And I'm going to turn that under, press it. Then I will take my hem, turn that under so that we don't have any raw edges and we have that nice 1/2 inch hem. Go ahead and pin that. Do the same thing on the other side. Sorry for my fingers covering it up. Pin that one. and your raw edge on your corner is also covered up. So now we have a nice corner that we can just sew, get to the corner, pivot, and keep sewing. And we'll do that on all 4 corners and then turn under the hem. Just go through the rest of the edges of the towel and turn that raw edge under to meet the crease, and we have our nice 1/2 inch hem. And I'm going to pin that a couple of times just to secure it, and I'll take those out while I sew. Bottom edge, I am going to add a tag. Now, you know, I have a business called the Crafty Canary, so I have some little tags made that have my logo, have my cute little canary, and they also have some washing instructions. So I'm going to add that here, and you can, if you don't have a business, you can still buy little tags that say handmade by mom or handmade by, and then you can have them put your name in it. So if you want to add a little tag, it's certainly not necessary, but if you want to, you can do this. And what I do is I go about 3 inches from the edge of the bottom of the towel. So remember, we're on the inside, and this is the bottom. I can kind of see the sheep's feet through the fabric, and the feet are at the bottom of the towel. And I'm gonna just put my little label in, pin it in real good so that it stays, and we're ready to go to the machine. Here we are at the machine, and I'm going to start on one of the long sides, and I'm gonna hold my thread ends, but I'm not going to back stitch at the beginning. When I get around to the end, I will come and stitch over that beginning stitch and then back stitch, just so I don't have too much bulk and so much back stitching. So here we go. We're just going to stitch all the way around. Now, as we get to this corner, we're going to take our pins out. And when we get to the place where we're on both of the side and the bottom hem, we're going to stop about right here and pivot. So stitch carefully and slowly, keeping your fingers out of the way. Maybe even use the hand wheel for that last one. Pick up your presser foot, turn, and begin stitching again. And now we're to our tag. So I'm not going to fully take the pin out, because if I do, I might lose the tag. It might come out. So I'm just going to take a little bit out and stitch very slowly, taking a little bit out at a time until I know that it's securely on there. And then keep stitching. Now we are approaching the place where we started, so I want to make sure that my thread ends are nice and taut and they're not going to get all bunched up underneath and get caught in the bobbin thread. So I want to hold that and then slowly approach where I started and meet that, stitch over it a couple of stitches, and then back stitch over it a few, and we're done. We're going to cut that off and show you how nice it looks. And there we have it. Here is our nice dish towel that has turned out to be 28 inches long by 18 inches wide. We have hemmed the edges. It looks nice and neat. Our tag is sewn neatly in there at the bottom of the towel, and we can use this in our kitchen, and we can use it decoratively, or we can, it's very practical. We can also use it as a dish towel to dry dishes. So I hope you have enjoyed this little tutorial. I hope this tip has helped. Let me know in the comments if you made your own dish towel and how it went. I hope you have a great week and come back next time for another tip on Tuesday. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.